Hello everyone, it's Joel Davis with the United Medical Transportation Providers Group, coming at you with a very important message. Why? Because about 50 of you have sent us this email from Logisticare. Basically, when you guys send us emails, Dan, Charlie, Dawn, they'll see them, and if it's something I need to read, they put it into a separate box for me to get, and I can access our bulletin board and I can see what's there. But Dan said that about 50 of you have sent us the same letter. So I'm going to go through and read this letter and break it down, because obviously with all of you sending it to us, you're obviously concerned about it because you want to make sense of it. You don't know what's what. And I'm glad you sent it to us because obviously if you're not sure how to process this information, well, first and foremost, the Fat Man is here to enlighten you, to give you the real story, the backstory of what's going on here. So let me read it to you. The title, this is Logisticare's title of this email, is Help Preserve the NEMT Benefit. Call to action, transportation community. They're calling you to action to help preserve this industry. They need you. The email says, as a trusted partner of Logisticare. Okay, right there, we already know you're full of crap. How many times do you need them and they're not there for you? How many times do they promise you trips? Do they give you trips and then take them away as soon as they find someone cheaper to do it? As a trusted partner, all of a sudden you're a partner, but when they're screwing you and backstabbing you, not reimbursing you for trips that were already approved, were you a partner then? No, you're a means to an end. But okay. Joel, will you just please stay on point, Joel? Stop digressing. I can't help it. It's like giving a fat man donuts. I mean, I'm just going to take advantage of it. As a trusted partner of Logisticare, your company and its employees have been providing transportation services to some of the area's most medically vulnerable. Tug on the heartstrings there. Good job. I like that. Good job, Logisticare. We desperately need your help. But when you need our help, don't call. Okay. We desperately need your help to protect this life-saving benefit. Actually, no, you are a second responder, not a first responder. First responders will actually provide the life-saving benefit, as NEMT were second responders. But okay, I like the play on words. Build up the emotion. Build up the emotion of the reader. Specifically, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services is considering publishing a rule that would allow for states to choose. Well, hey, God forbid we give someone the ability to have choice whether or not they want to provide transportation to the Medicaid population. Not accurate. Which would put these vulnerable patients, our members, at risk. Given the critical role that NEMT can play in a healthcare crisis management, there's got to be a crisis. Some of our strongest supporters in Congress believe now is the time to protect this critical benefit once and for all. Today, I have added a link on this site that will allow you to submit a letter to Congress in order to preserve the non-emergency medical transportation benefit. We need your help to preserve the industry. If this comes to pass, many medically fragile individuals will be left without transportation to medical appointments, which could be impact the health outcomes of members as well as your business. Oh, that's right. Now Logisticare, they're concerned about your business because at the very start of this, they addressed you as a partner. Whereas all the other times when they're screwing you and treating you as just a means to an end, I love it how they can just choose which one they want. You're a partner. No. Means to an end. Partner. No, means to an end. I love it. In order to make sure this benefit is protected, I encourage you and your employees to take 5 minutes to visit MTAC website, follow the instructions, and submit a letter to Congress to preserve NEMT. We can do this together. That's right, because you're a partner. In this email, you're a partner. But when they approve your trips and they don't reimburse you for the trips that were previously approved, well, then you're back to being a means to an end. So choose which one you are on any given day. Thank you, Logisticare IT team. So obviously, I'm sure you could tell by now, this is all total BS. Here's the dealio deal. I'm going to break it down for you. Specifically where they talk about choice. What happened was, again, I'm going to go back to probably one of the worst things that ever happened to our industry, the NEMT industry, was Obamacare. The implementation of Obamacare, because it increased Medicaid enrollment by 138%, which helped out who the most? Medicaid brokers. So for many of you who've been in business for a long time, you obviously have witnessed the change, you know the change, you've seen the change, et cetera, so you know where I'm going with all this. So Obamacare expands Medicaid enrollment up to 138%. So where previously NEMT services was predominantly for elderly people who were on Medicaid, low income, when Obamacare, the implementation of Obamacare increased enrollment by 138%, it really increased the age of when people could start using NEMT services. So really, it started to include those from ages 21 to like 62, 63, don't quote me on the exact age. But typically, previously to Obamacare, the NEMT benefits were always available, and they're still going to be available for senior citizens, low income, elderly, disabled. It's still going to be there. All this frenzy, nonsense. But when Obamacare increased it by 138%, it really increased the age group. So now you had people as young as 21 who could qualify for NEMT transportation. What did that do? It, again, for those of you who've been in business for a long time, you've seen the change, how Medicaid brokers were popping up on every other corner. And they still are. Why? Medicaid went up 138%. Specifically, that age group of the 21 to 62. Now, typically, those people, they're not going to need NEMT services. So, A, you notice that all these Medicaid brokers started popping up on every other corner. B, what portion of their transportation ballooned, exploded? Ambulatory. Why? Because that age group between 21 and 62 is going to be predominantly, I don't know what the numbers are, but it's going to be vastly ambulatory. Not wheelchair, not stretcher. So again, for those of you who've been in the game a long time and you've seen the transition, the transformation, and the explosion of all these Medicaid brokers, you've seen how now they've just ballooned with ambulatory trips. So for all of you who I told you better be heavily invested in the wheelchair and stretcher transportation, you better be weary of the Medicaid brokers. Again, this is another affirmation that underscores everything that I've been preaching for all these years. Go back several years and watch my videos. See if I was right or not. But anyways, this is specifically saying, let's revert back to what it was, where states had a choice. Because previously, I want to say there was 30 or 32 states, don't quote me on the number, but it's up there. It's definitely more than half. Let's say 32 or 2/3 of the states, whatever. It's up there. They had Medicaid waiver programs. Some still do. But most of them who had Medicaid waiver programs, they had a choice of they could keep the Medicaid waiver program, but because the Medicaid system has now expanded to 138% under Obamacare, many of them just ditched the waiver program and absorbed themselves into the new Affordable Care Act, i.e. Obamacare. So what this is saying, they are concerned that, again, now Congress is saying, hey, states, you have a choice. Go back to what you want, do whatever you want. Stay the way you are, or go back to the Medicaid waiver program. Whoa! Who does that affect? Brokers. What do brokers not want? They don't want the choice. They don't want states to have a choice. Because if they choose to go back to Medicaid waivers, who does that cut out? Logisticare, MTM, Southeast Trans, looking at you. Medicaid waivers empower the states to make choices, and it cuts out the Medicaid brokers. So, do you really think that this gobbledygook, feel-good, tug at the heartstring partner, do you really think this is about preserving the NEMT industry? Only in the sense of protecting the 40% revenue, which is predominantly ambulatory, that the Medicaid brokers have enjoyed and taken great pleasure in since the implementation of Obamacare. That's who's at risk of losing, the Medicaid brokers. All this fearful, let's tug on the heartstrings. The Social Security Administration guarantees within every single state, low income, elderly, disabled, don't worry, you're going to get your transportation. So this nonsense, our most vulnerable, no. Our most vulnerable, they're going to be covered. They were before, they're still going to be covered. What Logisticare is not telling you about is really that age group of 21 to 62-ish, which comprises like 40% of their revenue, and the vast majority of all of that ambulatory transportation goes to behavioral health type appointments. So this medically fragile, most vulnerable, play on words. Again, use common sense here. I could go on and on, I'll try to cut it short, but use common sense. Do you really think this right here? Okay, by the very fact that Logisticare addresses you as a partner, when every other day of the week you're just a means to an end, and if you're watching this and you know that they used to give you X number of trips, now they took away many of them because they found something cheaper, so now you're just getting Y. Were you a partner then? No, you're a means to an end. Whoa, but now they need your help. I applaud you, Logisticare. I applaud you. You've done a great job tugging on the heartstrings. Whoever drafted your email, tugging on the heartstrings, love it. It takes a lot of chutzpah to put this together and draft it and send it out. And you, our member, our partner, you are going to save the NEMT industry. No, it's still going to be there. But I'll tell you who is at risk, who is at jeopardy. You, Logisticare. You, MTM, you, the brokers. Because A, God forbid, we give the states choice. Because if we give them choice, and they do go back to Medicaid waivers, guess what? They are going to circumvent you, the broker. They're going to work directly. They're going to work directly with the transportation providers, which means the transportation providers are going to get increased rates of reimbursement. And oh, by the way, the Medicaid brokers will have no control over that waiver process or the interaction between the transportation providers and the states. And if they do deploy that choice, it's going to further erode and undermine the overall Medicaid broker system itself, because technology is coming. A lot of people, a lot of states, a lot of regions are starting to see, well, what is the need for some of these brokers? I'm just saying, I'm going to cut it off here because I could go off on a whole nother tangent right now. So I'm going to bite my tongue. I could save those for another day. But thank you all for sending, although it was all the same letter, thank you all for sending it to us. We all appreciate it. I would tell you, fear not. Don't worry. Your lack of action in following NEMT's advice is not going to undermine the strength of the NEMT industry. So, again, keep sending us your emails. Always appreciate it. I know we have a long backlog of emails, but keep sending them. Hopefully, we'll catch up to them soon. Always appreciate it. I'll see you at the top.